Hi, good morning. It's Dr. Bob Flower, and it's Monday, March 25th, and this is the Achievement Forum. Okay, so today we're continuing our introduction to natural intelligences, and today we're going to deal with the what we call the functional intelligences, or the action, how we do things. Right? Now, consider this. There are only four ways in which the human species conducts itself. There are only four ways for it to function, right? And that gives us our four intelligences: the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the intuitive. This is also known as the spiritual, right? And we'll talk a little bit about that. Physical. This is dominant in people like athletes or artists, or, doctors, surgeons, people of that ilk. Okay, or when you are performing things of this nature, it is your physical, material intelligence that is being demonstrated. Mental, IQ, your thinking skills. All right. Emotional, the ability to overcome restrictions such as fear and stress, things of this sort. Okay, um, uh, and to implement those feelings as well. And so emotional IQ, as it's known, um, has to do with feelings, as versus your intuitional intelligence, which has to do with sensing. And people make a lot of mistakes. No, I got this gut feeling, and they relate that to emotion, but it's not. Um, Not when they have this knowing, it's a sensing, truly, and it's getting things right on another level, sort of like that comfortable feeling, the zone or something like that. And Socrates had said that this was the best of all possibilities, because intuition, he considered it to be pure reason. And when you're in a state of intuition, even if it's fleeting, it you know, and we have all experienced this a number of times in our lives. It's something that can be and should be um, developed. Right? When my kids were growing up, we would all hop in the Suburban and take our weekend trips up to Vermont to go skiing, and we would play games, intuition games, to see who would get things right, and to help them develop their intuitive skills. And I must say to you that after a while, when the kids started getting into their teenage years, it was almost scary at the things that they could pick up on. And it's very interesting at how much you can rely on that once you really get into the groove about that. My wife is extremely intuitive person. There were many times when I was doing research a number of years ago, and I would be stuck on an issue, and I would ask her, I want you to concentrate on this issue that I have. And I wouldn't even tell her what the issue was. And I would say, I need some information. And she wouldn't know anything about it. And she would sit down, and inside of a minute, she would come up with something. And it would be right on. I mean, every single time. So this is something I'm sure you've all heard about and seen. Don't disregard this, for those who are, skeptical, or those who really say, I have no, intuitive abilities at all. The other part of this is, as I said earlier, is the spiritual realm. And again, I've said this before, and I'll say this continuously. By spiritual, I do not mean anything in a religious context. Others may, you may interpret it as being religious. I am not using it in a religious context at this time. By spiritual, I mean this energy that we all have within us, and we use, but we don't understand it. We don't even know that we're using it in many cases. And this is a very powerful force that if people learn to apply this and use this, things will happen very naturally. In fact, to be very candid with you, using the spiritual aspect of my nature, my intelligence, is how I came up with the natural intelligences. And things just seem to fall in place when you're aligned in that respect. Okay, so again, we all have these four to some degree, more or less, and it's very important that we find where our strengths are and where our weaknesses are. Okay. By the way, somebody once asked me, "Are good looks physical, or, you know, what would you consider?" I would consider good looks, dressing well, right, part of your physical intelligence. I mean, if you walk around with, you know, straggly hair and, you know, ripped jeans and whatnot, and that's your style, that's great. And maybe in the community in which you're involved, maybe that is part of the genre. But for the rest of us who have to go to companies and out and interact with people, it's important that you look well and you speak well. This is all part of your physical intelligence. That's where we categorize that. Can IQ be developed? Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And I've done it. I've done it for my wife, and I've done it for at least one of my children. And it can absolutely be developed if you're willing to put in the time and the sacrifice to make it happen. All right. Emotional is probably one of the hardest, and I work with athletes on emotional intelligence because this is where many blocks are. You know, we talked, the first session that we had on the achievement sciences was about the great restrictors, the four great restrictors: fear, ego, ignorance, and self-deception. A lot of that comes from emotion, especially the fear part, and the self-deception. It's when we that inner block occurs that you're not going to let anybody in. Nobody's going to know what I'm about inside. No, that's not going to happen. I'm not letting myself go or be natural, because I may make a fool out of myself, or people may call me a fool or whatever. When in this program, when we work together, you would be amazed at how people respond to that whole notion of, I'm not going to open up, and I'm not going to let people know who I am. And I mean, you know, it's crazy because, like, after a half hour, some of these people are spilling their guts about, you know, when they were 6 years old, you know. And very interesting, and very liberating. Right? And that's exactly what natural intelligence is designed to accomplish with you as a practitioner, is the ability to be natural, right? To use these skills and talents and intelligences to achieve a much higher level of life, of reality, of your desires. Okay, and by the way, keep in mind, and this is a plug, that I have 4 books that I have written designed on the science of achievement, on developing potential. In fact, my very first book, which took me 4 years to write, Decoding Potential, the Achievement Science, right? In there, I give all sorts of scientific information on what is natural intelligence and how it relates to other sciences, physics, chemistry, genetics, um, uh, uh, biology especially, and we're offering those books. Go to the website, which is www.drbobflower.com. Okay, and we have a special on for these 4 books this week. I think it was what, $35 was it, Jan? Right, $35 plus whatever the shipping was for all 4 books. Okay, so for this week, you may want to buy several or all 4. It's a great deal. The books sell typically for about $15 each or something like that. I'm not sure what they are. However, please feel free. Now, at some time in the near future, what we're going to try and cover next is the organizational intelligences, because there are 6 of those. So far, we've had the planning or the creating intelligences, which are 3. Your focus or your awareness, concentration, consciousness. That's one of your intelligences. Your conceptual intelligence, and your communication, your expression. Right. So and the 4 functional. The next we're going to talk about, the last ones, are the 6 organizational. And that we're going to do that with a couple of shows, because it is involved, right? But absolutely fascinating, because for those of you who are very poor in organizational skills, and I would say that out of all of the intelligences, most people are derelict in their organizational intelligences. They do not organize themselves properly, and they have the ability to do that quite readily, but they don't pursue it. I'm off to Arizona for a couple of weeks, but when I come back, at the end of the month, I'm going to show you a game that I developed that's a load of fun and really will blow your mind as to its ability to answer questions and make predictions for you. Right? So I leave snow-laden New York in the Northeast, and I'm off to sunny Arizona. The next broadcast will be from Arizona for the next couple of weeks, and I look forward to seeing you back here when we get back. Have a great time.